So we're on Daf Nun, at Aleph, and we started about the netzel yesterday. And one question: if the netzel we came out means the liquefied flesh, and it also is tamei because, and to a side point, which is not negated to nazir. Once we mentioned netzel, so the Gemara asks, "Boy, I mean, this we did yesterday. We did this yesterday also. I was question about that a behemoth is mace, nothing to do with nazir. But we talked about netzel, that Thomas mace, a dead man, the flesh. Also, when it putrefies, it becomes liquid. Also, it's tamei. How about Thomas Nevel of an animal? You also say that the netzel is tamei, and didn't answer the question. The Gemara thought it had a proof, but it didn't work. The Gemara, first of all, the Gemara said it depends if it's only tamei, then as long as it's fit for human consumption, because it surely is not, because this liquid is not fit for human consumption, then it wouldn't be a question even. But if it's enough to be fit for animal consumption, and this means that it is fit for animal consumption, melted this nevela fat or flesh in the sun, so it's tahor. The Gemara thought it must be because the liquid form is not considered basar, but the Gemara says no, it could be over there because it got nisrach, it got spoiled, and then it wasn't even right for a behemoth. So the Gemara didn't answer it. We leave it as a question. Netzel of behemoth or not, we don't know. As far as we got yesterday, and what of number 58.
I had a hard time understanding whether it's not, if it's I'm very confused by the whole idea. If it's not really the killer, if it's liquefied, yeah, but is it therefore it's asur? I don't understand. That's
you have two questions: is it considered basar or not? That's a whole question. If the Torah says basar nevel is tamei, is this considered basar or not? There's another issue. Focus if it's fit for human consumption or even if it's fit for animal consumption. So that's a question by basar. And the Gemara is just saying that this liquid state is surely not fit for human consumption. Then it wouldn't be a question. It doesn't get off the ground. Nothing to talk about. If it's not fit for human consumption, then even if it would be considered basar, but if you hold that as long as it's fit for animal consumption, the meat with Thomas Nevela, so we have to talk about liquid meat or not. The liquid was considered meat, and that the Gemara doesn't know. That Gemara has nothing to talk about. If it got spoiled and it's not fit for animal consumption, so then it's surely it wouldn't be tamei. But this is fit for, if it is fit for animal consumption, just that it's liquid state, is that considered basar or not? That the Gemara is a question. The Gemara doesn't. By Thomas Mace, that's the whole bit of netzel, that a dead corpse, a man. Corpse that the meat liquefied, the flesh liquefied, that is the thing. The next Gemara is one line up in the bottom, Mandunam and Aleph, and the question is, it's not a long sugya, but it's going to be a nice sizable sugya. And the question is, first we'll learn it, then we'll figure out what it's doing. You put it all in parentheses. I think you put the whole thing in parentheses. Let's see. And parentheses goes over here. And we'll try to figure it out. So we'll learn the sugya has nothing to do with us. Meanwhile, then we'll come back and figure out what does it have to do with us. Tanan. Our Mishnah in Machshirin. Kala nitzok. Nitzok means a flow. When you pour, so the flow that comes out. So say it's pouring into something tamei. The bottom. Because that can make what would you call that liquid stream? That stream that comes in, we call the stream, and more than it,
flow
or cup. And tamei cup.
The stream.
Connected. There's a pouring, and the kolonitzik tahor that it's not considered connected, and therefore the top is going to be tahor, even though the bottom is tamei. It's not considered connected. It'd be level, and you have a puddle and another stream, not a stream. You have a horizontal line of stream, and then the other puddle also tummy. But the fact that it's pouring down, so the top is not considered connected to the bottom. The tumor of the bottom is not going to be connected upwards. The tumor doesn't go upstream. Going upstream. Nitzo is the whole, because it's not considered connected. Happy?
Where's the tumor to?
Bottom. The bottom is
The bottom
tame,
of tame.
and you're pouring into a tame.
And before, as long as it reaches the bottom, it's tahor.
Whatever reaches the fact that it's connected because of a flow coming down doesn't. Also the flow itself, the line of the flow is also not connected all the time. Only when it hits the bottom is time, everything that's is not considered connected.
Okay, it doesn't make sense. At a point, the stream, let's see, this is the stream, this is and this one. So I understand that this is all tahor. This is all tahor. But at some point, some drop.
Honey, but it's kind of a thick honey. So thick honey is considered. Just going to be considered connected.
And species is also another kind
Also, something
of
like that.
place or something.
Or kind of a honey, I don't know. We turn the page. The Shama Yomim. Afamik Bashal Yusin Bashal Pool. The Pnei so that's some kind of a porridge made out of ricin, which usually means split beans, or pool. Beans. Kind of porridge. So also it has some kind of a thickness. And he says that it is b'peishi, so let us lachorah. Sometimes when you pour water, let's say, and you stop pouring, it's flowing down, continues flowing down. Whatever didn't get out of the cup is in the cup. But there are some kinds of liquids that when you pour it and you stop, some that when it breaks, whatever's going down breaks, so whatever's hanging in the air, suspended, it goes back. It has such a kind of a viscosity that it's even soap, shampoo, stuff like that, liquid, right? That it'll come. It's good enough that it'll go back against gravity to be considered a solid connection. That viscosity, that level of thickness is enough to be considered connected. That's not going to be like a liquid that by a liquid pouring, it's not the bottom, the top is not considered connected to the bottom. Said that this very thick honey is. The Shammai seems to say even a bigger chiddush, less than that, the Vasha Zipin. But he says that the Koveya is if it would jump back. It sounds very much like Yatso Ledes, when you touch something and you jump back. So here we go. The Saledes Lachavea means that when you're going to stop the flow, it's going to jump back. Whatever's left hanging in the air is going to go back to its source. That's enough to connect. And therefore, that kind of a food considered connected, and if it's touching them on the bottom, the top is. Boy, remember, but how about food? How about if you have a food? That's the end of the Mishnah. And now, remember, not a kasha, is food considered connected or not? Question. Is the reason why something should be connected because it has is going to be the liquid stick to say that the fact that it's a levis lachora, that it jumps back, that's the connected. That makes it connected. What does Tanakama hold? Does Tanakama also view that that's the be so food, no matter how thick it is? Or maybe the kobe of the Tanakama is not like Vishama. Vishama says the point is that if it's sticky in a way that it'll jump back. But Tanakama says is if it's thick. The honey over there might not be a line of food that's from a top container to a bottom container. Maybe the food is going to be considered connection, even though if it would break, liquid is not thick. Regular liquids don't have either one of these qualities. It doesn't
would
jump
make a
back.
connection to the top.
Maybe the fact that maybe thick can consider connection to the top, even though
when you stop it,
it doesn't
Nothing
jump
jumps
back. Right. So the finds a case of flying connection, but if it breaks, it's not going to jump back. There's the Tanakh hold that you have to have that it should jump back also. It means that this honey probably does jump back also. It has everything, it jumps back. And the Shammai says even if it jumps back and that's law of the Tanakh, what would he hold if something is thick and doesn't jump back?
Yeah, and Riri
is rear. Rear is how can we find a word? It says by Zakono, when somebody is dribbling, when dribbling in the sport. With the word rear, as well as anything on this word. Yeah, I thought that point of a sticky substance. Does Astral have this word of rear?
I don't really get. The idea is you're getting the food is thicker. It's more and it's more connected than water.
The more has the more knows it's more than water, but the more doesn't know if that's enough. Is that it's just thick, or the point is that it has to be such a connection that it would even be so connected to the top that if we would break the line of the stream, it would jump over. And we said that water is not connected.
What is not connected?
Thick strands.
So by
But
water,
not because of the strand, it has to be okay. Then I'm gonna jump back again.
so water is not connected.
Right, and then it says over on the bottom that Zipim is. Right, that was the Gemara on the bottom. Basha Zipim, the Mishnah, has even any kind of liquid that will jump back. The more is a question. The point of Tanakama is going to be like food. Food is not stick, but it's thick. Is thickness enough to be a connection, or it has to be down to something which jumps back? Tanakama might argue on the Shammai say that the jumping back of mikvah shel is not enough. It has to be even more. It has to be more jumping back, like zipim, zipim that mamish holds back.
Okay, so I would I would just in our terms. I don't know what's the strategy, but we see a difference between date honey and bee honey. Date honey doesn't usually should go back.
Okay.
And bee honey sometimes will go back.
But smicha, which is very, no, smicha means that it's very thick. Food. It's thick.
You said Riri is very thick.
Riri is a kind of liquid that's going to jump back. Riri is going to be a strand that's going to jump.
Generally.
Amr of a Tashma.
But what's the source of meat silk?
Imagine a Slachal Moshe. You see none of these things. Or as far as that Chazal said, like Tuma. Amr of a Tashma. Chayla Bamesh. He's talking about the fat of a dead corpse. So there also was Tameh, but it has to be a Kazayas. So here the question is going to be that it has to be Kazayas that's a unit of a Kazayas. So here it says if you had a full Kazayas of human fat of a mace, which is Tameh, and then the Ticho, he melted it, he made rendered fat, he made oil out of it. Tameh. Because it's still considered a kazayas united. But hayam furad, if it was pieces, means that it wasn't a whole kazayas. It was a few pieces. Altogether it was a kazayas of this fat, but they were pieces. And at that stage, it would not have had tuma. They're not considered connected. there might be a focus about this point. If you have two Chatzoi Zaysim under Oil, is it tummy or not? But we're going now that it's not. It's not enough to be two Chatzoi Zaysim, two half Zaysim would not combine to be considered a Kazayas under the Oil. And now you rendered them, and altogether you do have a Kazayas, is the fact that now it's united because it's a liquid. Is that enough to be considered a Kazayas? So it says, no, Torah. He had to bring down to Septa that says that the thing, in order that it should be considered one unit, it has to be naturally united, not artificially, not man-made. So when man takes two pieces of fat that each one alone is not a kazayis, and he renders it, he makes it into liquid, and now it's all one state of a liquid, that's not enough to be considered united. It's not one unit. One should have less than a, so it's not coming. But when it was originally a piece of kazayis, even though you render it, it's still considered than a kazayas, and that was not considered one unit to be tameh, even though now that you ran, it became united. That's considered a kazayas. But when you render it, the regular way of rendering fat, how do we take fat? We put it into the frying pan around, and so there's going to be some kind of a flow up and down. And the doesn't understand why rendered state it should be considered. Means the Gemara is looking at this. The Gemara is looking at this as food. This is fat, and it's rendered. It's still food. The Gemara still looks at it as food, and the Gemara is asking, why is it considered connected? So that you melted it, so it should only be connected through a nitzo, which the Gemara is going to answer soon why it's not. Not necessarily, but the Gemara seems to say, I don't know what the case is exactly, why the Gemara thinks every time you render fat, it's only connected through a vertical line. Why is that? I don't know how the Gemara looks at it. The answer is simple. The Gemara might be saying that not necessarily you could render a vertical stream. You put in the pot in a small frying pan, and it's going to be what?
Isn't that the
It's
normal,
not the normal
unless
way.
you're talking about barbecue and it's dripping.
And it's dripping. I don't know why the Gemara thinks that's how the Gemara would do it. You put it on something and it would drip down, and the Gemara is
So
asking
you
you. So, but you know what, that barbecue is because you don't barbecue fat, right? When you have a piece of fat that you want to have rendered fat, you put it in the frying pan. And the Gemara seems to answer in a second that that's going to be the answer. I don't know if that's what the Gemara is going to. I think that's to be a simple teretz. The Gemara thinks in the kasha that when you're rendering the fat, when you're melting the fat, it's in a state of nitzo. And if you say that there's no nitzo for food, so then it shouldn't be considered a kazayas. If you say that food are not considered connected, the ticho nami litor, even the ratio where it was a full kazayas of a solid that you rendered, it also should be tor because it's not a kazayas altogether. That's the kasha. Not a kasha. The more things it has a proof that nitzik of food is considered united, is considered connected. Rab Zera, no, it's not a raya. I know Umar Rabina Tagimna. I and Mar Beid Rabina explained this halacha that it shouldn't be approved. They take out the word nura. Nura Rashi has the word nura, but not about they don't seem to have it. Take out the word nura. Salakamuda lepume de mana.
The muda which is caused by the nura.
Rashi seems to learn that it means the pillar of fire, the fire itself, the pillar of fire. I think that's what Rashi wants. But let's say without that word nura. Nura means fire. Take out that word. Salik amuda lepume de mana, the courage. The case will be, and that's the translation without Bifat Pshat. The case will be that while he was cooking it, a pillar, the word amuda, a pillar, some kind of a, not a pillar of cement, the pillar of this rendered fat went up to the mouth of the kli and it congealed. The isei kula gabi adadi, that all of it is next to each other. What the Gemara is trying to find is a case that you should have rendered fat that shouldn't be with any vertical line of liquid that you food that you would call getting into the subject of nitzok. We want to get a case where there's no nitzok. The case should simply be that it's all together. If I would want to answer the answer that I want to think the Gemara is saying, it would say that you put it in a small container, the whole size of a kazayas, and you heated it, and nothing moved. Everything is in place. But before it was in a solid state, now it's in a liquid state, but you don't have that. There's no question of its connection because it's all together. And it didn't have some kind of a stream. I don't know how usually you do it. The usual way to do it would be on a frying pan that has walls, and you rub it around the sides of the walls, and then you have to go on to nitzok. And the Gemara is saying, no, that's not the case. But the Gemara is a very fancy case that I don't understand. The way Tosfos and Rashi explained these words, that when you were cooking it, so the whole kazayas went upwards, and over there it congealed. Means we do want a case that it congealed at the end, that now you have a piece. But the question was that in between, it was a solid, and then it became an oil, it became liquid, and then it got congealed again. But in this middle state, when it was a liquid, so then it was not considered unified because it was a nitzok. And that was the Gemara's proof that you must say that by food it's considered enough connected that it should be considered connected even though it's on a vertical line. And the Gemara says, no, the whole unit of the kazayas went to the place where it's going to eventually congeal. Why does the Gemara have to be so fancy? Why not just say that it stayed on the bottom and it liquefied over there and it congealed over there? I don't know. I don't know why the Gemara says a seemingly scientific difficulty that it all goes up together. Like, what do you need that for? Does it always go up to the top? Why not leave it? We do need that it was karash. So karash is going to be out of the kli. Eventually, you turn off the fire and it congeals. So the Gemara could have said it simple. I think that's what the Gemara means to say. Maybe there's a reason why the Gemara has to say a fancier case than I'm saying. But the point is, there's no right to our subject because it could be that there was no nitzik over here. There was no nitzik. There was no case of a vertical stream, a vertical line. It was all together. So it's no proof to our case.
When we're saying nitzuk, we're saying it's not connected.
The top is not connected to the bottom. The regular pouring of a liquid, it would not be, even if the bottom is tummy, the top is not connected to it. And the question was, if it's thick, if it's going to be so viscous that it would jump back, then it's considered a connection. Then it is tummy on top. If it's, and we want to know if it's very thick and it's no viscosity, is that also a reason to be considered connected also? And the Gemara is looking at the fat. It came into a liquid. It's looking at like a what was the word? The Gemara said it as the Ochlin connection. The Gemara thought it had a raya. The Gemara says no raya. The Gemara tries another proof. Amalei v'inu l'Rabashi tashma v'shami omrim afam mikvah shel gvisim v'shel pul v'pnei shein sold in lachoreya. V'shami said the point is the viscosity. So don't we want to say that Kama says also this viscosity? One says no, mediaria. Who said what does one have to do with the other one? Hasam the smichin hachamishim really. It could be that somebody says this milo of being viscous, and there's also of being thick. Maybe it doesn't prove. And the Mefarshim seem to say that for sure that the kobeya is if it's and it's going to jump back. And the question is what the Tanakh. I would understand because I would think that even Beshama might say that for thick. That's also I'm talking about if it's not thick. How was the first one? The first one was to say that it is considered, and the second one is to say right that it's not. It has only to do with thickness. I'm sorry, with viscosity, not with this. But the Gemara leaves it as a. So we finished, and the question is to do in this. Nazir, or anything that we learned about before about last night. So what is that? How does it come in? This whole sugi is very nice about Tumah with Nitzok. We found out new information. You just had a Mishnah yesterday in Yadayim, the last Mishnah, last parak over there. They spoke about that Stukim. They had Tainus under Prushim. How could it be Nitzik Estor? They're one of the big problems. I don't know what it sounds like a Is that what they're arguing about? Like, it sounds like in the Knesset, they were arguing, Nitzak Torah, Nitzak Tomei. The left came and said, how could you say that Nitzak is Torah? So, I don't know why it's considered
Just
in the
to
various
teach more about Tuman Torah.
Yeah, different suggestions. Like Harusa suggested that he spoke about the rendered fat over here, that if it was rendered fat, it's tummy. They might want to talk about the netzel over there, but in the case of the sun, but in the case of the fire, it is considered and it's not, and it's a regular way in tummy. And the Gemara is pointing out a problem. Rendered fat, it shouldn't be tummy for every problem because it's not considered unified. So the Gemara Aga brought in the subject about the unification of the kazais as far as the quality of the substance. That was the Gemara before. Is it against law or not? That was talking about Nevela. Now we're talking. We brought a case about maybe the Gemara. So you must speak at least as a side point, footnote that this issue that has to be a kazais together. Why is it a kazais together? If it's going to be flowing up and down, it's not going to be considered maybe because nitzok is not considered a chibur. But you could have a case where they'll all be together. So maybe that's the reason why the Gemara brought it in. But
Why?
Yeah.
No,
I'll finish it.
Well, you always quote your Rebbe, no?
Yeah, but it has to have a connection. It has to some shaykhs. If you're talking about Yitzhak, we could talk about it for pages, which the Gemara is going to go now. The Gemara is going to go on now for a couple of pages now with all kinds of tumata, nothing to do with nazir. It could have been a Masechah, but there is no Gemara Masechah. Here it is. But this case of Yitzhak, it doesn't come in over here. So that was a question. Okay, now we go back. New subject. Everybody, show up in the room more. As
No, just Thursday.
It's invigorating.
Ah, that's great.
Vamalo Tarvid Rokov. New sugya. New sugya. Vamalo Tarvid Rokov. We're talking about things that I'm Tamei Ba'ohel. Okay, it's exciting, but it's all about dead. But
No, not Tamei
Ba'ohel. Oh,
okay.
I'm a low Tarkov. So Rokov is the deteriorated, disintegrated. And it says that if there's a malot, not a kazayis is not enough. Kazayis is a bossa, but if it's rokab, if it's already disintegrated, so then it has to be a malot tarva.
We had
We had what?
what is the word tarva?
Tarva, that's the tarva is a kind of a spoon.
It's a spoon, that's what you said, maybe it's
ladle.
Ladle, maybe it's less.
Right. So now we're going to see how, I didn't know the Gemara talks about how big is it, but it's surely not a spoon in our word because a spoon is nothing like this size over here. But the Gemara asks how big is it? Kamashiro, how big is a tarva? So again, how much rokab, how much disintegrated, that's the way to say it, disintegrated flesh of the dead, how much will be in Tami Ba'ohel? So the Mishnah says a tarbud full. How much is a tarbud? Kamashiro, machlokis, chiski amam, a piece of sayad, a palm full. A piece of sayad, the palm is called a piece of sayad. Rabbi Yochanan amam, maloch hafnav, 2 handfuls. It reminds us of the Kohen Gadol doing the maloch hafnav, 2 handfuls. That's called maloch hafnav. This is called a chofen. A chofen is 1. No, it's 2. In the past, of a simon. Remember the Gemara? Oh, nachas. Then a kaf. The wise mamshti 2 shirim. The kaf is the pas, and the chofnayim is means a little good is much more than a lot of bad. So just has these two shirim. That one of them holds that it's a kaf, it's a malo piece of sayad, the palm full, and the other one says it's 2 handfuls. Machlok is how big is it's not a spoon, right? There it's a ladle which should hold the size of 2 handfuls. That's what a tarbat is. Oh, a machlokis at least. The Gemara has brisa, it says Tanan, but here's a brisa, not a Mishnah. Tarbat rakav yeshnan neikretz bo sulamala divrei meir. The Gemara there's a brisa that talks about how big it is. We had machlokes Chizkiah and Rabbi Yochanan and Moran, but the Gemara found the brisa that also has a machlokes what it is. Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim, and Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Chachamim is beautiful. Malach Hafnav, that's mamish like Rabbi Yochanan. That is 2 handfuls. Rabbi Meir says meikras bo sulamala. The Gemara means finger mala, which the Gemara thinks it means towards the fingers. What? Ikras bos, the root, the source of the fingers means it starts becoming from the bottom of the, and the Gemara thinks at this point that arms away from the means how much you can hold on your fingers, and that's the
These are Allah I'm assuming.
no. I mean, again, this is a question what a target is,
No, I'm saying Malay is Mataman.
right? That's probably Allah Moshe Mishnah.
And now we want it. Gemara's explaining
What
what
is
is
a
Malay
target?
target. So we're saying Malay's piece of siyad is from again. Can you continue?
No, no piece of yad is a palm. That's the before. Piece of yad is a palm. The palm is the palm of the hand without the fingers. And the malocha of Nav is 2 handfuls. And now Brisa, that's a machlokis. One of them is consistent with Rabbi Yochanan. It says malocha of Nav. The other one says from the bottom of the fingers and onward, which the Gemara thinks it means the place of the fingers. No one said that. Opinions of Rabbi Yochanan and Chizkiah were the palm or 2 handfuls. And now we have a nush that says the fingers full. And that's
The mayor is in.
But Meir is a new sheet.
Yeah.
Meir is their old sheet. That means that Chizkiah invented a new sheet that nobody says. Rabbi Yochanan is like the Chachamim, and Chizkiah is like nobody. Bishlama, Rabbi Yochanan, Udama, Rabbanan. Rabbi Yochanan says 2 handfuls. That's what they say. Malo Chafna. El Chizkiah, come on. Lo Rabbi, Lo Rabbanan. Chizkiah does not like anybody. Chizkiah says the palm full. No one says that. Some say 2 handfuls. Some say fingers full. Malo has both. Meikri has both. That's the kasha. Amri. So they say the answer. Malo pieces hayad. Malo kishri has both of. Happens to be the same thing. Happens to be that the palmful and the fingerful happens to be the same amount. So you can say either one, they're both the same. How much is a malo chafna? How much is a malo tarvid? So there's a washita that says 2 handfuls, fine, that's malo chafna. And Rav Meir and Chizkiah holds the same way, that it's the same amount that a palm could hold, or the same amount that the fingers could hold, which happens to be the same way of saying the same thing. That was the Gemara's answer.
Same amount.
Same amount. Not that it's the same thing, it's the same amount. It's 2 different things that are the same amount.
If he says that is the
Right?
Rabbi Yochanan was the palm, right?
Rabbi Yochanan was 2 handfuls.
Um,
Yeah, Chizkiah was the palm.
He says,
A little piece of siyah. And he was like a mayor that says that it's the fingers full. And fingers full and palm full is the same amount. And now the Gemara says a simple test that people thought of. How do you know what the Bryson means when it says from the fingers on, from the root fingers and on? So who told you it means away from? Right, and it means going this way. Right? So it means that from the root of the fingers until the wrist, which is what we said, that's called the palmful. The Gemara thought that he means the fingers full. It just says from the root of the fingers and onward. Onward, which way? South, no, north or south? Which way are you going?
but there's no, it seems like there's no afkamina. Didn't we say that the amount in the fingers is going to be the same as?
Yeah, we only said that in order to answer the kasha. There was a contradiction. We don't maybe measured they'll be pretty close, but the Gemara only said it around to answer the kasha because he said here and he said there. Machlok, so you get Chizkiah, where are you coming from? You say a palmful. Nobody said that. So we'll say same thing. And he said the exact same words as the mayor said from the fingers and on. That's what Chizkiah said, the palmful. So he said the same thing exactly. You don't have to invent that it happens to be the same share as the fingers full and the palmful. Is our palmful, and that's the share that the mayor said, that's what Chizkiah said.
What's the question? There's a taker.
So we erased Teiku.
We erased the taker. Thank you.
The last erased. Even though the Gersels don't have it, but the Rishon, take it out.
Because
I'm asking a question. We just finished saying the terrace. Everything's very nice. Is a yofi, as they say. Next page. So now we're going. Now it's nothing to do with nazir. It has to do with nazir because it says in the Mishnah that these are the kinds of tumas that nazir will be megaleach. The nazir becomes tamei. He has to stop at zero, start over again. And he gives examples that it says in Maseches Olos. So all these things, if we run Maseches Olos, we'd have the same Gemara. But there is no Gemara in Maseches Olos. So the Gemara opportunity to talk about it, like Rebbe Kaplan says always, since there's no Gemara on Maseches Taurus, on Seder Taurus, so whenever the Gemara comes to a Seder point about Taurus, so it takes the opportunity and the liberty to be able to talk about it, even though it's not Dafka here. It should really be in Olos. But there is no Gemara in Olos. Tanu Rabbanan. So we're learning Mamish Hilchas Olos about Tumas Ohel. Tumas Ohel. So there's such a kind of Tumas Ohel, which is Rakav. How much Rakav? I'm a low target. Tanu Rabbanan. Is there Sheish Lo Rakav? what kind of dead corpse can become tumas raka if it disintegrates and you have a malot target? Dafka meis shenikba orom ve'oron shel shai shel gabi ritzpa shel avanim zel meis sheish lo raka. But nikba b'ksusa v'oron shel eitz shel gabi ritzpa shel avenim zel meis shein lo raka. That it has to be placed. There shouldn't be any no impurities. Be pure when they're separated. It was only the flesh that decided and it became this what are you going to call this
Rat?
this rat, this, but if it has something else to get that also this together with him, it was welcome. Even if you'll take what you have a low target of that's not enough. Since it had something else side matter, whatever, as foreign substance. So it doesn't become much welcome. So it says the only example is going to be a very extreme case that he was buried naked, because if he said that the clothing also disintegrated and the basar that's going to be near Kav is not going to become Tamei Raka. It has to be
Because
pure,
it goes with the.
because
clothing.
some of it also disintegrated. Clothing also disintegrated. I'm sorry,
100% pure raka.
pure,
And
pure,
it
but
has to be something that's not porous apparently.
porous meaning
Shish in the stone,
what's the porous?
the dirt or the something can come through.
A porous, that's something, okay. So it says marble or stone. It has to be
Marble,
that-
that means it's going to contain the.
and that's what stomach. So it has to be buried naked without in a marble coffin or on the stone of or on a floor of stone.
Yeah.
That's when it'll be raka. But if he buried with his clothing, or if he was buried even naked but in a wooden coffin, or on a floor of brick, even brick is like saying it's porous. Also,
Because-
some of it will
because different
disintegrate.
pieces-
Some of it will disintegrate also.
Oh, is that what it is? That the brick will.
I think so.
I thought also maybe bricks are things that you lay next to each other, so there's space between them.
I think simpler. I think that the levanim itself will disintegrate. Part of it will disintegrate. The stone, it doesn't disintegrate, so it's going to be pure raka. If it had any kind of foreign substance, so I can't call it impurity because yeah. So zel mesh ein lo raka. Then it wouldn't have this din of raka.
Rashi says there's Tevin in the vein. It's
Oh,
made.
there's
And
because they make
therefore,
it, it's
you have to say,
man-made.
you have to say, and therefore
Therefore,
it disintegrates. Disintegrates
It'll be not nice. It'll be.
because some of that will also disintegrate.
But also it'll take a long time. Why
It
would we have
doesn't-
the famous story of Akiva that he saw the water stone and he said it can
I don't know, but I don't think that it
it
disintegrates.
can manipulate the
So it
stone.
doesn't, you're not gonna have any dust that's gonna be stone. I'm suggesting, I don't know, but I'm suggesting,
Where
you
the
know-
hole is, what happened to that stone?
It went away with the water.
It went away with the water. Well, but so something was.
did it disintegrate?
Oh, it didn't
No.
disintegrate. It's still stone that washed away.
I don't know.
Okay. I thought it just takes so long that.
What's the difference if it takes long? If, what
Well,
if
if
you,
it takes,
what if you found, you may find 1,000 years
Maybe.
later, you'll find
yeah, 1,000 years later, you'll find a naked body.
in a stone coffin or in a
stone
marble,
coffin.
because I
We
said
could
this is,
still assume that it's record if there's any.
right.
Okay.
It's dried up.
By stone, you can assume that it's record. By brick, we won't. That doesn't tell how long it is. Right?
Raka is dry, right? Raka.
Record is dry. I imagine.
Oh, it is dry?
Yeah. It's not. Yeah, we're not. Yeah, it's not. It's not for net cell. Liquid Rakov is the dry powder of disintegration, or that is in Hebrew, in English. Nu halach- about
I see,
Rakov.
okay.
We have the Rakov. It's Amar Ula, Nu halacha, give him another summer. So Nu halacha, that in order to have Rakov, in order that it should be too much Rakov, is only if it has 3 ingredients. If it doesn't have all 3 ingredients, it doesn't become Rakov. It has to be a combination of flesh and sinews and bone. But if it's missing one of these 3 things, even if it was pure basar hamei, disintegrated, it's not going to be Thomas Rakov. Only if it has a combination of basar, gid Thomas. Kasha. It says Rakov habam and abar Torah. That's let's put a kasha for there. That's a kasha. That it says Rakov habam and abasa Torah
Where does it say that?
and a brisa. it sounds like basar alone is not enough. That's true, but it doesn't say you have to have all three ingredients. Hamina etzem tameh. It just says that mina basar, and it sounds like if you'd have rakav that you had disintegrated bone, it would be tumas rakav. And you're saying you have to have all three ingredients. Here it just says that basar alone is not enough, but it doesn't say that bone alone is not enough. Afagavdu like a basar, even though it doesn't have any flesh, it just is disintegrated bone. Mashma that it is tamei. So the one says, no, that's not a deer. Hey, Mahachi. Say the Bryce is talking about this. Rekev ha-rakav ha-bomen it has bone. Did I read it well? Rakav ha-bomen ha-basar tor ad sheyesh etzem babasa. That it has to have both. Don't just read that if it's from pure flesh, it's tohor, and that would be mashma that has to be from pure bone, it's tamei. No, put into the word, put into the brisa that it has to have flesh and bone.
That is tohu until it has bone also.
Right, you have to have both. Don't just say that it's tor, period. It's unless it has bone. And then it says it has to have both ingredients. You can't be like anymore that bone without flesh. It says flesh without bone. So that means you have to have both. But not much has happened with the third ingredient. Halakha gidim. It doesn't have gidim still. And you say you have to have all three ingredients in order to become masraka. The Gemara says, if there is flesh and bones, there's also sinews, because there's no such thing as flesh and bones without sinews. It's always going to be there. This is the Gemara I thought I could find, that maybe it says over here in the development of an embryo and any person who's going to be having already flesh and bones automatically has gidim over there also. So maybe that's what it says. Once there's gidim, if it says before, the Gemara said a page ago, there's no gidim, so it means also that there's no basar about someone see them. I think that maybe we can read it into the Gemara. Tosfos maybe says a little different, but maybe that's might fit. Okay, so that's ready to halachas. I'll just erase the kasha over here because we answered the kasha, and the halacha stays the way it says, that it has to have three ingredients in order to become the masrah. So that's the chazar that we did so far on this page, that we have to have rakav, means that it's only if it had pure rakav or mace, there was nothing else. Also, it's not even enough to have pure mace, it have three ingredient mace. It have basar gidim atzamos that rather without anything, without any other foreign substance. Why is it not working? Let's erase that word. Next. Okay. Now, next halacha. Amar Rav Shmuel. Amar Rav Yochanan. Shnei meisim shekoven zem zeh. Nasu galgilon zeh lo zeh. Galgilon is, I don't know, I once had an English word for it. I think it's based on an English word also. English, that something, an outside substance that stops everything. There's probably a word for it here. It's called galgilon. So the yesod that we said that if he has clothing or it's a wooden coffin, anything that would have put other substance into the mixture, so it stops the whole thing. It stops the whole. Nothing happens. It doesn't become tamei. So here it's saying a bigger chiddush. Not only clothing, garments. Other things are considered foreign substance that's going to matter. You only have the dead matter. That's also not going to be tumas rakav because it wasn't for each one alone. It has to be that even one mace also shouldn't become an impurity, an admixture. So if someone buried two mason together, even if both of them were naked and both of them were in a marble coffin, still nasu galgil zelazeh, each one is considered a foreign substance. As far as the other one, what? So there's some word in English that I wrote down in my Gemara Nida that I don't have now. I think that there's a similar English word when something gets.
It's not like a pizza.
Not a mechitza. It's not a mechitza over here. It's saying that if you put in a little bit of this, the thing doesn't work anymore. It stops the process. So rakav, I don't know example to say in some kind of scientific thing. You put one drop of something else in. If it's not pure, then the whole thing doesn't work. So there's a word for it. This word is gangilon. Gangilon, gangilon, all kinds of words for it.
Two dead people are in the same cavern.
In the same marble coffin.
In the same marble coffin.
And they both disintegrated.
And now still means you should.
They become galgilon for each They become added impurity to the other one. Each one is not pure. The other rakav mixed into it.
Oh, the galgiling.
Each one for the other. Zelazeh. So not going to be any too much that you say. There's only pure dead matter.
Like a
matter.
mixture.
But it's a mixture that stops that point. That stops it. It's not just a mixture. It has something foreign inside. Stops it from being characteristic.
Why don't they intertwine with each other?
I don't think that's the word. There's no shot. That's what the translation is. That's what Shmuel bar Abba Amar Rav Yochanan is saying. Must say Rav Nassim. They say Rav Nassim bar Ashaya. Rakav Abba Mishtei Mesim Tamei. There's a Persia brisa. Let's make a brisa out of it. Rakav Abba Mishtei Mesim Tamei. That's the kasha. It says that it's tamei if you have two mason. It's against what you said. It's a brisa against an amora. Amarava shekavu zeb lifnei asmo zeb lifnei asmo ve'kibu b'amdu amolo david rakav. They were buried separately. If they would have been buried together and when disintegrated, they disintegrated together. So then that's the case. So like if together with clothing or wood, so then itself. Each one became disintegrated by itself, and then you mix. So that is too much rakav. Now they mix it together. It doesn't take away. Even I don't know that if the halacha before that matter or wood matter got mixed in the rakav, it also is not going to take too much rakav if it got mixed in after integrated. It's only integrated together. Part of the disintegration process was mixed with something else. It doesn't become too much rakav. But if it became pure rakav of one mace, even though you put in some other ingredient of created clothes matter, that's not going to be too much rakav. So here too, two mason, it is possible that it could be tamei, but only if each one disintegrated on their own. If they would have been disintegrated together, then each one would be called zelazeh.
No, Rav Nassim says the Rakav Habam base the Mason Tameh.
That's a kasha. Rav Nassim is quoting a brisa to ask a kasha. Must have Rav Nassim bar Ashaya.
Doesn't that mean there's two, then it's going to mix together and it's still
No, the
tameh?
Gemara thought in the kasha that they were they disintegrated together, that they were buried together and they disintegrated together.
And they disintegrated and they're yeah, okay.
I'm a Rava. It's only going to in order to save Rabbi Yochanan's memory, say that they were buried separately, they disintegrated separately, and then they put together. And they each one was a malot, and then together we put them together, they can become tamei. Then they wouldn't be tamei. New Gemara.
Where did it end?
By this should be erased. I don't know. I've gone on just now. And where
we read
going?
Mahar Kivo.
It wasn't.
And they separately and rotted, they disintegrated separately, and they became a malot harvard rakav. It could be. Okay, I imagine each one was a malot harvard rakav. Put them together, then they have half a harvard of this one, half a harvard of that. Okay, that could be tamei, but it has to be created
On their own.
Also, Hilchos Rav Amar Rabba Barba Chanam Rabbi Yochanan Gabo B'Kabo Imo Nasa Lo. If they cut off the dead man and bury together with him, so it's not considered part of the dead man. And the same way they would have had any other admixture, it stops the rakav tuma. So too, the cut here is also going to stop. It's going to be considered the galgilon, and it's going to stop the tuma of rakav.
Just one point. The idea that it has to be pure is also halacha.
Yeah, I think everything. Yeah. Tanan Asam.
I'm sorry. If the hair was growing on him, he's part of him.
Right, but if
But
it's
if it was cut, then it's like
not part of it,
divorced him, and then it's like
like anything else, like a piece of
foreign
clothing, right? Foreign object. Tanan Asam, a Mishnah. Kol shebemeis tamei chutz minashinayim v'asior v'atziporin u'v'shas chiburan kulim. Our Mishnah says any part of a mace is tamei. It's beautiful. Fingernails, probably also the toenails, but they're not It's not called Thomas Mace. If you have a toothpaste, it's nice. Why do you think so? Bones, yes, but here's
A
a
tooth
key.
is
Doesn't
apparently
say-
not. Bone.
To the bone.
So it says that a tooth is different than regular bones. The more it talks about because they're not born together. The bones are, the tooth is not. There's something special about the teeth different than all.
Come later.
So Chinayim v'seor v'tziporim. V'shas chibur kolam tmeim. If they're all together, if it's also tamei of a dead man. It's also tamei as long as if they cut off here, here's stuff. Just to point out the Gemara Aksan, he had 10 children died in his
Says a
lifetime.
bone.
What?
Says a
Oh,
bone.
it doesn't say. It's
It says
being
yes.
garma, that's Serbia. Tais has the kasha, or somebody has the kasha, that it's going to become tam. He said the same. Must be
Oh, it's less than, no, it was less than a centimeter.
less than the Sahara. It's very small, less than the Sahara. Or they could say that it's a tooth.
Right.
That's a tooth. It's not going to be tamei mace.
Texas,
And
the tooth, I think.
That's what it says. It's a
Yeah,
tooth.
Garma the tooth.
It uses the word bone, right?
Garma is a bone. The one is a bone. Then garma that's here. Okay, so what do you have so far? That while it's connected, it's Thomas Mace. Once it's separated, it's not Thomas Mace. Boy, Chizkiah. That was the mission. Chizkiah asked the question. Sarah Omer Ligaleach. Tzipora Omer Ligazis. What if it's still connected? Omer to be cut. They decided that they're going to cut his hair, cut his nails. Is it considered connected or not? Even though it's still physically connected, but the fact that it's only on deck to be disconnected is considered disconnected.
Why would that help? Help to disconnect.
Sometimes we say that only because they goes dummy. We do say that.
There's a
that
heavy
concept.
condition.
Yeah, but this is a
I think they
physical.
do.
They will cut it.
I think that.
So when it says omade, it means that it's with them, but then it's gonna get cut after
Yes,
you
yes,
die.
yes.
Yes, but
That's not, but in the case where it's only to be cut, they're planning to, they decide to cut his hair. So and now it's connected physically. It's only to be disconnected. Maybe it's already considered disconnected. This concept comes up in different places also, in different contexts about tvua that's on the field, but it's ready to cut. Maybe it's considered cut as far as some halachas go. So it's a question by the Thomas Mace. Do you say that if it's only to be separated, maybe it's not coming?
Mhm.
It's not
So
considered.
if you touch the hair, they wouldn't become tough.
Someone would touch the hair of the mace, it wouldn't become tummy according to this question. If it's already disconnected,
sounds very hard, spoiler wise.
you have to look at other sugis where it says about kolomi ligzos kikos dami. Kolomi, yeah, talks about it by Yo in the Southern Chavero.
Kavanah to do something and you wanted to do it, and then it's like you did. That might work in the sense of Kavanah, but in terms of the reality is that it's hair that's connected to the body.
It's on the way out. No, I think we can take things that you agree to. Something in the music world. What do we have?
Sure.
And the examples of homemade to happen, it's like it happened already.
You're gonna take out the third part and just make it 1 and 2, and you forgot to do it, so. You might be hearing it, but it's not really there.
Getting paid for a job.
Didn't get paid for a job, that happened.
No, if you came to the job and they didn't the tzibur didn't come, you still get paid because you came there. So you were ready to play, even though you didn't play.
Wishful thinking.
I was ready to play, and I didn't play. I didn't get paid.
Okay, I have to take it back. I'm sorry for being up here.
When we went to Facein, he said, "Did you play?" Forget it. We should have played.
And Kolomi ligzos kikos dami. Yashdami ahamu chubarim. Do you say that since it's only to be cut, it's already considered cut, or it hasn't been cut yet, then it's still connected? The Gemara asks, can we not bring a proof from Rabbi Bar Chana? He's the one who said that as far as Galgilon, he said that if you cut the hair, it's considered Galgilon. Why doesn't he say if it's ready to cut, it's also Galgilon already? He started with Rabbi Bar Chana. He's Galgilon. He brought a Mishnah that says that as far as Tumas Mace, he's cut or not. The question over there, if it's only is it still Tumas Mace? The Gemara thinks that Rabbi Bar Chana and Rabbi Yochanan seem to have an opinion because when he Galgilon, he only said if it was actually, even when it's only to cut, he does was only to cut, and then it disintegrated, it's also going to be Galgilon. The Nifshavlei, because he said they cut it, then it's Galgilon. Time of Mishum de Gazaz, Ola Gazaz low. So isn't that a proof that it's that you don't say Omer the Gazaz, it's Gazaz Dami? The one says, no, it's not a raya. How can come out? Gazaz are raised with Galgalim, Galgilon. Low Gazaz, he does say the case of Gazaz because he's sure about that. But he doesn't mean that he had a definite opinion. He just wanted to stay clear. So he said, Gazaz for surely is Galgilon. You want to know if it was not Gazaz, it was only the Gazaz? That I'm not getting into. I don't know. So it could be that he doesn't have a definite opinion. That's what's staying clear of the question. But I don't know. And the Gemara seems to finish with that. There was a question without answer. We don't know. And we'll stop here for the day. We got up to.
Yes, Shakar.
Yashikar, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.